Hey everyone, I'm Sophie, apparently, and this may be a little bit of a controversial statement, but I like playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And I also like trying out new decks and stuff. Yes, that's right, I actually have fun playing this stupid, broken, floodgate and negate fest of a game. But, unfortunately, I don't have as much time as I would like to play it, because I'm under the effect of a floodgate of sorts called capitalism that forces me to spend 8 or more hours of my day sitting in front of a computer generating money for a company instead of sitting in front of a computer generating bad decks for me to play. So that is why what you are watching in the background right now is me building an Exosister deck in 10 minutes or less. Exosister, for those who don't know, is a new archetype debuting in the Grand Creators, which at the time of recording is coming out in a little bit under 2 weeks. Now, I know nothing about Exosisters. I have never looked at a deck profile for them. I have looked up nothing about how to play them. I have read through all the cards before recording this, but that's it. Because the thing is, all that research and testing and stuff, that just takes way too much time, you know? I'm a busy lady. So, I set myself a 10-minute timer and threw together a deck in that time. Now, am I gonna be able to make a flawless deck in only 10 minutes? You know, maybe. But also maybe not. Well, we're gonna have to find out now, because in today's video, I am going to build this deck in 10 minutes or less. I'm gonna tell you a secret. I actually finished in like 10 minutes and 10 seconds. I'm sorry, I cheated you. But I'm gonna take this deck I threw together in 10 minutes and have not practiced at all. I'm gonna play 3 matches against the highest caliber of opponent in Yu-Gi-Oh! Randos on EDOPro, and we are going to see how the deck and I perform. First of all, I'm gonna show you the deck, and then I'm gonna play probably a couple matches, and then using all the knowledge I have gained from my 2 matches of practice, I'll make any tweaks to the deck that I may have somehow missed in my initial 10-minute building process, and then play one final match with the polished, perfected even version of the deck. So with that, I think that is all my explanation out of the way. So let's skip forward in time to when I am done building this deck, and let me show you my take on our new lesbian nun archetype. Alright, 10 minutes of intense deck building later, and I have before you the perfect Exosister list. Sure, you know, I threw this together in literally 10 minutes, and sure, I haven't tested it in any actual games yet, but I don't think that's any reason to think this deck isn't flawless. I foresee me making no changes, demolishing all of my matches, and being heralded as the greatest Exosister player alive. Now, before I get into showing you the individual cards in this absolute perfect 40 card list, I do want to make a quick note about a card Exosister's Magnifica. Now, most of the Exosister archetype is getting released in Grand Creators, which is coming out in just a couple weeks at time of recording. But Magnifica is another support card revealed later for Dimension Force. I am building this deck post-Grand Creators only, which is why I am not on the Magnifica. I would absolutely be playing this card if it was going to be out at the time. Now, with that out of the way, let's go through the cards. The Exosister main deck monsters are made up of 2 separate lesbian couples of nuns that gain small benefits if they use their effect while their lesbian lover is also on the field. In addition, all 4 main deck Exosisters share the effect that if a card leaves any graveyard by your opponent, you can special summon one Exosister Xyz monster from your extra deck by using this card as material. So if your opponent banishes something from grave for cost, or summons a guy from grave, or adds something from grave to hand, these guys get to go into an Xyz monster at quick speed, and all the Xyz monsters have effects that activate during your opponent's turn. That's pretty powerful. You get to go into a 1-card Xyz and get some powerful effects off, but it's also very possible for your opponent to play around, so we'll see how that goes. As for the effects of the individual monsters, the first 2 are the extender couple, Elise and Stella. Elise's effect is that if you control an Exosister, you can summon it from your hand, and then if you control her beloved Stella, gain 800 life points. Stella says once per turn, you can special summon one Exosister monster from your hand, and then gain that 800 life if you control Elise. Next up are the card draw couple, Elaine and Sophia. Elaine's effect is that once per turn, you can place one Exosister card from your hand on the bottom of the deck to draw one card, and of course gain 800 life if you control Sophia. And finally, Sophia, who yes, if you are wondering, is named after me, says that if you control another Exosister monster, you can just draw one card, and then if you control an Elaine, you do get that 800 life. After that, I have a couple of generic level 4 extenders in Curtain Raiser and Photon Slasher, because it did feel like in some of my test hands I wasn't opening enough monsters to go into an Xyz, and I feel like this deck really does want to make an Xyz turn 1. Next up, we have Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Shouldn't need any explanation, it's an Ash. Onto the spells, we're going to start off with one Instant Fusion for just another level 4 extender, and then 3 Desires for card draw. This should probably just be Prosperity, honestly, but I don't know, what can I say, I just love going -9. Then the 2 Exosister spells, we have 3 Amento and 3 Packs, as well as 1 copy of the continuous spell, Carpenter, whatever. Amento's effect is that you can pay 800 life, then target one Exosister you control, and summon an Exosister Xyz from the extra deck with a different name from the cards you control, using that monster as material. Worth noting, this card can only be used during your opponent's turn unless they control a monster summoned from the graveyard, meaning it's pretty hard to use this to like go into another monster in the battle phase to OTK. This card still seems worth running though. It turns your Xyz monsters into different Xyz monsters on your opponent's turn for disruption. It also lets you dodge targeted effects, or honestly just get into your Xyz monsters if your opponent refuses to touch the graveyard. Next up is Exosister Packs. This card is absolutely cracked. During the main phase, pay 800 life to add one Exosister card from your deck to your hand. Then if the card you added was a monster, and an Exosister monster listed in the text of that card is on your field or in your graveyard, you can summon this card from your hand. Or rather, you can summon the added monster from your hand. This card is a Rhoda that's also an extender if you have one of the couples together. This is just absolutely cracked. I can't imagine ever playing less than 3 of this card. And then finally, the one of Carpenter or whatever. This is a continuous spell that says neither player can target Exosister monsters you control with effects of monsters summoned from the graveyard, and once per turn, if you Xyz summon an Exosister monster, you can declare one card name, and for the rest of the turn, the effects of that card on the field or anywhere else will be negated. And also, once per turn, it is an MST when an Exosister monster battles. This card doesn't seem that great, but it seems worth it at 1 because it is searchable. The Prohibition type effect is pretty cool because you can go into Xyz on your opponent's turn, meaning you can just make a guy on their turn and then declare the name of their best playmaker, cutting them off of plays, and the MST effect isn't bad either. On to the traps. I am on 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence because it's Infinite Impermanence, and 3 copies of Exosister Vadis, which lets you pay 800 life points to summon from your deck 2 Exosister monsters, one of which is listed in the text of the other. They go back into the deck at the end phase, and you cannot summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except Exosisters. I do think 3 might be a little too much for this card. I got really excited about summoning 2 guys from deck and threw 3 of them in. But it's not impossible this is too clunky because you can't do that much with it on your opponent's turn, and if you want to save it for your turn, it's pretty slow, but I don't know, we'll see. And then finally, some generic good cards, 1 IO because this card is not banned for some ungodly reason, 3 Solemn Strike, and of course 2 Solemn Judgment. In the extra deck, I'm on 1 Muddragon of the Swamp as my instant fusion target, and then of course the Exosister Xyz monsters. Now, the Exosister Xyz monsters are, flavor-wise, kind of upgraded versions of the 4 main deck monsters. And they have a few different effects. They all have some protection effect against monsters in the graveyard. They all have an effect that activates as a quick effect if they were Exceed summoned this turn using an Exosister, which you're going to want to be using on your opponent's turn. And then an additional effect they can activate on your own turn by detaching a material. The first one, Exosister Michaelis, cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster summoned from the graveyard, and once per turn, if it was Exceed summoned this turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls or in the graveyard and banish it, and then on your own turn, you can detach a material to add an Exosister spell trap from your deck to your hand. Next up is Exosister Capistelle. This card cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster summoned from the graveyard as well, and if it was Exceed summoned this turn, you can activate this effect. For the rest of the turn, neither player can special summon from the graveyard, and then on your own turn, you can detach a material to search a monster. I'm on 2 copies of Exosister Jabrine, which cannot be destroyed by the activated effects of monsters summoned from the graveyard rather than battle, and if it was Exceed summoned this turn, you can target one effect monster you controls, your opponent controls, and negate its effects until the end phase. On your own turn, you can detach one material to give all Exceed monsters you control 800 attack. I'm running all 3 of these monsters at 2 because it seems like you really want to have access to both their opponent's turn effects in different matchups as well as your own turn effects, because you want your searches, you want Jabrine specifically, I think, you want to summon it on your opponent's turn to negate, and then be able to go into a second one to go for an OTK. The final one I am only on 1 of, because I do think that its effects just aren't quite as good, but I still want the one. Exosister Eusophiel, fucking rude of them to make the Sophie one the worst, but whatever, cannot be destroyed by the activated effects of monsters summoned from the graveyard, and if it was Exceed summoned using an Exosister, for the rest of the turn, neither player can activate card effects in the graveyard, and then on your own turn, you can detach a material to bounce a monster your opponent controls. After that, we're gonna move on to the generic Exceed monsters, Zeus, because it's Zeus, Redoer, because it's pretty good, Tornado Dragon, because it's also pretty good, Baguska, because I hate having fun, and Abyss Dweller, because, listen, if I'm playing a deck that already hates the graveyard, we might as well commit to it. And finally, all the main deck monsters are spellcasters, so I am on a Selene into access code line. Finally, let's take a look at the side deck. Pretty generic stuff here. I'm on 3 Nibiru, 3 Lancia, 2 Cosmic Cyclone, 3 Secret Village of the Spellcasters, because that is what all the main deck monsters are, 3 Evenly Matched, and the last copy of Solemn Judgment for when I go first. Alright, so with that, let's go ahead and play some games, and I will be back here in a minute to bring you tidings of my great and glorious lesbian victories. Hello again, dear viewer. I am back, and I have just played my very first match with this perfect, flawless, impeccable, unbeatable Exosister deck, and okay, yeah, I'm gonna be real with you, this hand is terrible. I'm up against something that's not super meta, to say the least, so hopefully we can still beat it. My opponent has somehow managed to combine Trickstar and Volcanic, the 2 most coped decks in Common Charity, into one even copier advanced deck. Well, let's see if we can take it down, even though we don't have any way to put 2 monsters on field right now. So we're gonna start things off with a Pot of Desires. Let's hope we find it off the top. We are going to get, not an extender, and draw means we can't even cycle with the Elaine. Hopefully set 2 pass is good enough. They're gonna go for Candina. I'm gonna follow it with the Impum, but they have the Licorice already. That's bad, guess I needed to ash that. They'll pick up the Reincarnation and go for a Burial Goods, which I will IO for, because I'm not trying to fuck around with that. Sophia is gonna die, and it's gonna pass back. Let's see if we can do anything here. Curtain Raiser is great, we can make an Exceed, except, that's a spell card, so actually we can just Elaine set 1 pass. Yeah, this IO kinda biting me in the ass more than my opponent. And now they even have a Gravedigger for my Ash Blossom that I didn't use turn 1. Yeah, this one's not going well. Fortunately, IO will do its job here turning off the light stage, and they're not gonna attack, I guess because they're scared of the back row. We're gonna set 1 and pass, maybe we can get there. We're getting a little low, but I don't think they can kill us. Yeah, so Scatter Shot's gonna go off here. That's fine, it'll just nuke my board, but I'm still gonna... Oh, wait. Oh, those deal damage. Oh. Man, okay, this one is just embarrassing. Okay, I'm not letting that happen again. There's no way I'm gonna lose to Scattershot Burn, of all things, twice in a row. But we once again don't have a way to make an Xyz turn 1, so I guess we'll see. Alright, I'm gonna start by firing off a Pax to pick up an Elaine. We can cycle this for a draw, but I guess we can't under the draw. Stop that. Set 3 pass should be enough though, hopefully. They're gonna fire a Heavenly Prison, set 1 and swing in. I am gonna fire the Amento in response to the attack, letting us go into a Michelise. Michelise, at end step, we can banish the set card, meaning we can go off pretty much without interruption here. We'll draw the Pax for turn, and I'm gonna pick up the Vadis for next turn. That seems pretty good. Draw is really rude, but funnily enough, Pax is a quick play, so I can chain it to still get the search and summon of Sophia. I'll swing in with the Michelise, set a couple more, and pass. I don't think they can play through this much back row with this small of a hand. They're gonna extrav. I'm gonna Solemn. They're gonna go ahead and follow it up with a Heavenly Prison, which I will Solemn again. And finally, they will set 1 pass. I will Memento an end step. Unfortunately, I can't go into a second Michelise to banish, but that's fine. Now, awkwardly, I'm at 200 life, so I can't actually activate the set Vadis. But we can search off the Stella, summon Elise from hand, and gain 800 life that way, letting us go into the Vadis after making a Eusophiel. We're gonna summon the Sophia and Elaine, do a couple of draws here just to gain a little more life for fun, and go into Jabreen, gain a bunch of attack, bounce the set, and with all 4 Exosister Xyz on board, this is gonna be well and truly the end of the game. Alrighty, here we are, we have made it to game 3, and I am feeling very good about this one. I didn't see a single Scattershot last game, which makes me happy, and even better, this hand actually has extenders in it. That's wild. They are going first though, let's see what they can do. Turns out what they can do is Burial Goods for a Blaze Accelerator reload, set 3 and pass. Well, let's see if we can beat that. Curtain Razor's gonna be my first play, and I'm gonna fire it up with Elaine. They will reload, but I top-decked an Ash, and banishing reload triggers Elaine. I'm happy we got that off finally. I'm gonna go into Michelise. They're gonna implement, which prevents the banish, which is a little annoying. But we have Elise for follow-up. Reincarnation will put a stop to that. And these top decks are kinda bad. Hopefully the one Amento does get us there. And it will certainly get there through set 1 pass. Alright, well, Michelise still has material, so we can pick up a Pax. They'll try to Reincarnation, but this card is still a quick play, buddy. I love that. I'll summon out the Sophia to draw 1, and then fire Desires into double evenly. Are you serious? Whatever. Jabreen busts my guys enough to end the game, unless you have Dino Vicious. Stop not dying. That's so impolite of you. Well, I can still swing for 22 and then set 2 cards. I don't know how they beat this. They'll Extrav, I'll IO, they'll Paleo, but guess what? Both of my sets are quick plays. I can chain to IO to get value before it resolves. That is sick. We'll get Stella for next turn and a Capistelle for even more searching. I do not know how they plan to beat this with a single Paleo on the board. That instant fusion draw is useless, but who cares? I can search Elise, summon Stella, use her to pull out the Elaine, summon Elise, and they will just surrender, cause unfortunately that little Dino Vicious is just not getting there. Okay. So I'm not gonna claim this deck really put up a perfect list performance match 1, but it did win match 1, and that means I have a 100% match win rate, and 100% is a good number. Now, my last opponent was Trickstar Volcanic, and I'm pretty sure if you can beat that deck, you can beat anything. So I'm not concerned at all that my next opponent is Invoked DPE Dogmatica. Now, okay, this one's gonna be a little harder to win, but I really hope I do so I can prove to those stinky Dogmatica that the Exosisters are the superior religious sect. Let's see how it goes. They are gonna go first and fire off Prosperity for 3, no reason to ash this, and they will pick up the Maximus, that false prophet. Addistar's gonna be the next play, but I do have an Ash for it. Hopefully they don't have the Invocation, and they have FD instead. Okay, that's not good, but I do feel the need to point out here that this player is the most dedicated to the Dogma of all the Dogmatica players. I cannot think of a reason to play this except that it's funny and it says Dogma, but you know, more power to ya, buddy. Anyway, it's gonna go back to my turn now after 1 set, and the Elise top deck is great. We have an extender that plays right into a tickaboo. Okay, the game's not over yet. This DPE was summoned from the graveyard, which means because we have a Mento, if we draw an Exosister, we can make plays, and that is a sister. They're gonna DPE, but we can fire the Mento to go into an Exosister who cannot be destroyed by monsters summoned from the graveyard. Unfortunately, its Abyss Dweller effect will not stop the DPE effect because they go on the same chain, so that's a little rough, and yeah, Exosister is not protected from battle, so DPE can just kill it and then eat the last back row. I don't know what gets us out of this one, but Elaine is not gonna be it, so I guess we'll go to game 2. You win this one, Maximus. And with that, we are on to game 2. I am going first, and this time I'm gonna show those stupid Dogmatica that some weird extra deck religion is nothing before the power of Lesbians. Alright, so we have Sophia and Pax, that's good. We can start off with the Sophia and fire the Pax to pull out our Elaine. That's gonna let us get a Sophia draw, which is good. It desires into more draw, and I do feel the need to pause here as I go for the Michaelis to point out that this desires sucked. I banished all 3 copies of Stella and my other 2 Elaine, which means I don't have many Exosisters left in my deck. I don't think I can resolve a Vadis, even if I search it here. With that in mind, I am gonna just pick up a Pax for next turn, and then let's just go ahead and set 5 pass. Beat that, idiot. They're gonna Meltdown, I'm gonna Ash. I should have waited for the Alistair, but whatever. Compulse is gonna come down, it's gonna hit the Pax. That's good for us, we can just chain it. Pick up an Elise for next turn. I'm gonna Punishment, then a Deal Serpent, which should be good if they don't have another one, that's not nice. They're gonna send Apollone for Dragon. Dragon's gonna get another pop, it's gonna take out my Strike. Taking Special Ecclesia, I'm gonna Improm this. Hopefully the last card isn't Fusion Destiny, and it is not. We have a Michaelis with Material. Okay, that Schism is scary, but we can probably beat it. They're gonna fire the Schism into a window, and then promptly realize it doesn't do anything, because Michaelis just attacks over this, and I pop off in main phase 2. Let's go, we are making it to game 3, I'm gonna win this one. It all comes down to this. We are in game 3. The fate of Yu-Gi-Oh! Religions is on the line, and I'm going second with a hand that looks pretty terrible. You don't love to see that. Well, let's see if we can beat their turn 1 board. They're gonna go for the Prosperity first, finding off the top Mr. the Invoker himself. And for the 3rd game in a row, they will start with an invoked card, and I will start with hand trapping it. That's gonna shut them off the invoked line, but they do have an idea to send Apollone and pick up a Schism. They're gonna set 2 and pass. Hopefully we have enough left to beat this. Sophia draw is not what we want to see, especially with the Schism coming down. But you fool! Schism activates Elaine, but Chalice shuts it down, and now I can't even draw another card. So we have to hope this one set is enough to stay alive. It's not looking great. They're gonna search Maximus with Ecclesia and attack in, killing the Elaine. It's gonna come back to me, and I'm gonna go for another Elaine, try to draw, and they're gonna Schism into a construct? I mean, cutting me off monsters is good, but buddy, without Winda, you are just going to die. They'll send an Aerial, and oh, you have screwed up, buddy. You did not need to activate this. But they did, and that is gonna let me go into Michaelis and Librine with 2 Exosister effects. Pick up an Amento for next turn, Pax into an Elise for even more extension, Librine to negate the Ecclesia so I can run it over and gain a bunch of attack. This isn't gonna be lethal, but it is a lot, and I just have a ton of assholes in play. Will it be enough? It will. At the end, the Dogmatica will be betrayed by their own dogma that they're running for reasons I don't understand. But, you know, even if our opponent maybe played a little suboptimally, the Exosisters have won, lesbian religion has prevailed, and all is well in the world. 2 matches and 2 wins. These lesbians are looking good out there. Now, I said at the beginning of this I was pretty sure I'd found the perfect 40 Exosister list, and you know, I still think that, but sometimes even perfection needs improvements. And I've made a few changes to the list based on the previous 2 matches, like I said I was gonna do at the beginning, so that it is as tuned as possible to win my 3rd and final match with it. I noticed a couple of issues when I was playing the deck, and I've tried to kind of plug those holes. Number one is that I felt like I just didn't have enough extenders. This deck seems like it really wants to make an Xyz turn 1, and I didn't have enough cards to let me do that. To that end, I've upped Photon Thrasher to 3 and put in Rhoda to search it over some of my other extenders. This gives me access to one more guy, and also means I don't get screwed by IO with things like the Curtain Raiser, and I don't have the awkward anti-synergy between Vadis and Instant Fusion. In addition, I swapped out Desires for Prosperity. This does two things. Number one, it means I can dig specifically for extenders to make my turn 1 plays better. And two, I'm not gonna banish all 3 of my Stellas like I did in that one game. So, sorry to all my budget-minded viewers, I tried guys, but Prosperity is just such an insane card. Other than that, I swapped out the Exosister Continuous spell, what's it called? Exosister Capybara or some shit? I don't know. For a Called by the Grave, the Continuous spell felt like it never really did much, I never found myself wanting to search it, and I really liked the ability to shut off hand traps in a deck that struggled this hard to extend. Finally, to make room for some of this stuff, I cut Vadis down to 2. Summoning 2 guys from deck is pretty cracked, but this isn't a card I really want to hard draw. I'd rather be searching it, and for that reason I'm fine running 2 copies. Speaking of searching traps, listen, all lesbians are queens. But if that's the case, then Exosister Michaelis is the queen of queens. This card, I thought this one was clearly good, but I thought the other Exosister Xyz would hold up more. No, this feels like by far the best Xyz monster. Getting the banish effect on your own turn, and a spell or trap search, which can get you to all of your powerful back row and even a Pax if you want a monster, is just crazy, and the banish effect is also the most generically powerful effect you can do on your opponent's turn. I think not running 3 of this card was probably a mistake, and to make space for that, I did cut 1 copy of Caspitele, so we are now only on 1. The opponent's turn effect of this card is a little more situational than some of the others, and because we can just go Michaelis into Pax to search any monster, having Caspitele as an additional monster search is not super relevant, but keeping 1 in I think is fine. And then, with the 1 extra slot I had from taking out my instant fusion target, I put in an Artemis. I'm not really sure what I'm doing with this, but, you know, having a Link 1 is never a bad thing, so can't complain about that. And finally, I did make 1 change to the side deck. I learned a thing in that game where someone flipped There Can Only Be One on me. Did you know the Exosister Xyz monsters are warriors, not spellcasters? And warriors don't work with Secret Village. So I did take out the Secret Village for Golden Match, which is quite good against a variety of decks if I'm going first, because all of my relevant monsters, including all of my extenders, now that I'm on 3 Thrasher, are light, so this does absolutely nothing to me. So with that, I think we have evolved from a perfect 40 deck list to the fabled extra perfect 40 deck list. Now that we've done this, and we already won the first 2 matches, I see no reason I'm not gonna absolutely crush my 3rd and final match in 2 games. I will see you in a minute to tell you all about the result of the final ride of the Exosisters. And here we are at last. The final match of Exosister for today. The perfect version of the deck, up against one of our toughest opponents yet in the form of a Fluanderies player who, spoilers, doesn't make the sort of questionable decisions the invoked DPE player did. I don't want to beat around the bush here, let's get into it. I'm going second and my hand is not looking great, but maybe we can get there. Let's go. Alright, they're gonna start off with a Prosperity for 6, so let's see what they will find. Boom, 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 boom. That magnificent map looking pretty good, and that will in fact be the pick. The map comes down and they're gonna fire it off, revealing Eaglin. Now you always imperm the Eaglin, and apparently they always have the punish in the form of Book of Moon. That's annoying. Well, they're gonna get M-Pen to hand and fire Rabina. That's gonna get them even more pluses, getting a barrier statue, and M-Pen will let them search and summon the barrier. Okay, so the thing about the Exosisters is they're all tiny. My highest attack monster is 500. I cannot in any way get over this barrier statue. So my opponent's gonna go Stree into Toucan into Eaglin. No search, I guess they're only on one target, that's a little weird. But regardless, they're gonna swing in for 1,000,000 damage. My stupid Called by the Grave is not doing anything in this matchup, and oh boy. Oh boy, that was fast. Is my new upgraded version of the deck gonna lose its one match like this? Because I can't get over 1,000 attack barrier statue? Oh boy, let's hope game 2 goes a little better. Okay, that was a bit of a brutal one. But, you know, that's fine, we're moving on to game 2. And this time, I am going first. Hopefully that is good enough. I'm gonna start things off with Stella, and they will D-Shifter, which doesn't actually do anything. Gonna summon out Sophia and get a draw. Vadis is not a bad hit. I'm gonna go Caspitele here over the Michaelis, because I want to be able to use the rank up magic to go into Michaelis on their turn, and that's gonna pay off. I'm gonna do that play immediately on seeing the Magnificent map, and now I can chain Michaelis' Banish to the activation, letting me deny the map. That forces them to cross out to banish Rabina, which is a cool play, but one that does lose the Solemn Judgment on the one normal summon they have. Now all we have to do is kill them, and shockingly this hand does it. Vadis will get out Sophia and Elaine, letting me draw a card, gain some life, and make a Jabreen. Then I'm going to follow up with a Stella and Pax, use Stella the fact that summon the Elise and gain a little more life, going to use Sophia, and with 3 Exceed monsters on the field, Jabreen will boost me to well over 8,000 damage. Alright, well, we've had 3 matches today, and we have had 3 game 3s. This time, I'm gonna have to win going second against Flunder, which is always scary. But I also opened, like, my entire side deck, so I think we might have this. They're gonna start off with a D-Shifter and follow a Magnificent map. When they use the effect, I can just Lancia, and buddy, they cannot do anything at all about that. I'm gonna go ahead and Prosperity here off the top because I am a good Yu-Gi-Oh player. And there is a Stella. All we needed to do was hit one Exosister name and we have plays this turn. I'm gonna go for the Pax, and they could not draw the Prosperity, hilariously, because it has to be sent from hand to graveyard, so it doesn't work under D-Shifter. That means I get to make the Michaelis, I get to search a Mento for next turn and banish the Magnificent map. Then we can go ahead and swing in, set 2 and pass. Can they break this board? No, they say with the M-Pen top back deck, they cannot. And I would agree, I think, right? In order to make any plays here, they need to cross out Banish Rabina in order to pick up the Eaglin. But if they do that, it negates the Rabina, so they don't even have any plays there. And if they don't do that, their turn is normal Eaglin pass, and I have a Michaelis with material. So, yeah. Folks, it's simply that easy. Just open Lancia. And with the fall of a party of weird little cute birdies, my journey to become the world's greatest Exosister duelist has come to an end. I think by the end this deck was not terrible. Look, I don't know, like obviously I've been joking about a perfect 40 Exosister list. I made this deck in 10 minutes, I tweaked it a bit after 3 games, it feels fine. The thing is, I'm not confident I have the best Exosister deck here, but I'm also not confident you can make something much better. These cards just, frankly, are not very good. Like, I won all 3 of my matches, yes, but a lot of that was due to winning lots of die rolls, opening Lancias, my opponents making bad plays. The Exosister Exceed summon when your opponent touches the grave effect is cool, but it's super easy to play around, especially when all these monsters are so tiny, everything in the game runs over them. The deck is cool, and I do like the aesthetic of a bunch of gay nuns who turn into big, powerful warrior gay nuns who hate necromancy, but the deck really just does not feel good enough. I am glad I won some games. I was expecting to just show up, make a bunch of lesbian jokes, and then have this video be 20 to 30 minutes of me getting fucking owned, so that's cool. But I wouldn't be bringing Exosister to your next local and planning to win it. Unless, of course, you think you have an Exosister list that's way better than mine and I'm stupid for building the deck this way. In which case, please do leave a comment down below letting me know. Also, if you enjoyed watching the video, please like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun making this video, and I hope you liked watching it. I had a lot of fun making this video, and I hope you had a lot of fun watching it too. And with that, I will bid you adieu for now. I will see you next time, and until then, remember, Mikkeli's best girl.